everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make the skirt that you have just seen at the beginning of the video. This can be matched with our previous butterfly crochet top as well as the camisole crochet top. The camisole crochet top has a pattern and the butterfly crochet top has both a tutorial and a pattern, and I'll be leaving all the links in the description box below, so feel free to check out the matching tops as well. So for this project I will be using this robin 100% acrylic yarn, and I'll be using a single strand. At some point in the project you'll be seeing me using a double strand, for example on the edges of the scallops as well as the waistband, but for the main body of the skirt I used a single strand, and you can see how small and thin this yarn is. This is a fingering weight yarn and I am using a single strand so that we don't get a very heavy feel of our project, because this is a layered piece. As you can see, there is a piece underneath and then there are these layers of scallops that sit on top of the original piece. So if you're to use a double strand all through, you're going to end up having a very heavy project, which I don't like. So I'll be using a single strand, and then at some point I'll use a double strand. Then I'll also need a pair of scissors, and the hook that I'll be using for this project is a 3.5mm crochet hook. That's the only hook that you'll need for this project. And then you also need a darning needle and a measuring tape. The measurement that we shall be considering for this project is the hip circumference. And yeah, for the yarn I used approximately 4 balls, so just have 4 to 5 balls, and each ball of this is 300 yards and each ball is 50 grams. So I am approximately estimating about 4 to 5 balls. So if I'm to consider 5 balls, that means I'll have my skirt measure. It will weigh about 250 grams because each ball is 50 grams. And then for the yarn I will consider about 1,500 yards. So get your substitute yarn, and if you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. So let's jump right into the video and learn how to make this beautiful skirt. Alright, so we're going to start off with a slip knot. You're going to grab your 3.5mm crochet hook and you're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain that can wrap around your hips when stretched. So for me, I started with a chain of 177 chains, and your chain should be a multiple of 3. For me, 177 is a multiple of 3. So you're going to make a chain that can wrap around your hips when stretched. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so I have my 177 chains, and I'm going to make sure that the braid is always facing up so that I don't twist my work. Make sure your chain is not twisted. And you're going to slip stitch into the very first chain of your project. The very first chain, which is this one. You go into the very first chain and insert your hook, pull through all. So this will create a ring, and this should be able to go through your hips comfortably well when stretched. So if I'm to take a measurement without stretching, I have about 16 inches. At this point, when you join your piece into a round, you should get half of your hip circumference when stretched. So for me, the hip circumference that I am considering is 40 inches. So at this point, I should be able to get half of the hip circumference, which is 20 inches when stretched. So you can see without stretching, we are at about 16 inches. And when I stretch, I should be able to stretch up to 20 inches. As you can see here, we are getting up to 20 inches, which means this piece will comfortably fit a person who is 40 inches. So make sure you can stretch your work to half of your hip circumference. So let's go on to round 1. After your slip stitch here, you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet for this pattern. The chain 3 at the beginning of the row or round counts as a double crochet. And then you're going to yarn over, go into the next chain, which is this one, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. This pattern is explained in the US terms. So that counts as 2 double crochets. So one is this one, the chain 3, and then the double crochet here. Now you're going to make a chain of 1, skip over the next chain, and place 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So you skip over this one, you make a chain of 1, skip over the next chain, and 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So 1 in this one and 1 in the next chain, which is this one. So yarn over, go into the next chain, and place a double crochet. And just like that, we're going to repeat this: chain 1, skip over 1 chain, and 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. 1 and 1 into the next. Chain 1, skip over the next chain, and 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So this is going to create that granny stitch effect, as you'll see later on. We always have a chain 1 space between the 2 double crochets. So we have 2 double crochets here and then a chain 1, 2 double crochets here and a chain 1. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. 1 in this one and 1 in the next chain. So you're going to repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of round 1. This is round 1, and I'll meet you back towards the end and I show you how to wind up. So you can see how the yarn is really thin, and it's not going to give us a very bulky look at the end of the day. Alright, now we're coming to the end of the very first round. Make sure your work is not twisted at this point. And we're continuing with the pattern: chain 1, skip 1 chain, and 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. And now you should be left with only 1 chain. I have a chain here, and you're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3, which counted as a double crochet. And that's how to wind up round 1. This is how your work should look like. Make sure it's not twisted. I can't emphasize this enough, because once it's twisted at this point, you'll have to get back to the drawing board. You'll have to repeat the process all over again. So round 1 is finished. Now we are on to round 2, and this is the round that we're going to keep repeating again and again. So pay attention. You're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. Now you're going to go into the very first chain 1 space with another double crochet. So this counts as 2 double crochets. Chain 1, skip over the next 2 double crochets, and into the chain 1 space you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets. Chain 1, skip the next 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So that's the repeat for round 2. Chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So from now on, we are working into the chain 1 spaces. We are not going into the stitches. So what we are doing right now is building the skirt that's going to be on the inner layer of our project. We first make a plain skirt, and then we sit the scallops onto the top of the skirt. So what we are doing here is the underneath design of our piece. So continue to chain 1 and placing 2 double crochets in the chain 1 spaces all the way around, and make sure your ori is working in the opposite direction of the previous round. That means once you make the chain 3 at the beginning of the round, you make sure you turn your work so that your ori is working in the opposite direction of the previous round. That way we're going to have the same line along a straight line. So let me go ahead and work my round 2 until I come towards the end of the round, and I'll show you how to wind up. Alright, so we've come to the end of round 2. As you can see here, we still have one more chain 1 space. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and go into the last chain 1 space of the previous round with 2 double crochets in there, just as we've been doing for all the other chain 1 spaces. And then you're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch on top of the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. So the first chain 3 of round 2, you're going to insert your hook there and pull through all. That's a slip stitch to wind up round 2, and you can see what we have. So we're going to repeat round 2 again and again until we get the length of the skirt that we want. Now for me, I'll consider a total of 12 inches for my skirt length without the waistband. So I'll be back in the next video, in the next clip, and I'll let you know how many rounds that I'll have made for the design underneath our piece, and then we shall go on to the scallops. So don't forget, you start off with a chain of 3, and the chain of 3 always counts as a double crochet. Turn your work to the opposite direction so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round, and into the very same chain 1 space at the beginning of the round you're going to place another double crochet there, and this will count as 2 double crochets. Then you continue to chain 1 and 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So we're just literally repeating round 2 again and again until we get the skirt length that we want before we start on the scallops on top of the skirt to create the textured look. So keep doing this, and I'll meet you back when I get my skirt length that I want for my piece. Alright guys, I ended up doing a total of 28 rounds, and this gave me a total of 12 inches before I work the waistband. The waistband will be the last part of the project. And now we're going to go onto that design that creates the texture on top of the skirt. And to do that, you're going to place your work facing down. This is the very last round of my skirt. And now I'm going to go to the side of the foundation chain. This is my foundation chain for the project. Let me zoom in a little bit. This is my foundation chain where the waistband is going to sit. So I'm going to turn it upside down, just like this. And I have my yarn here, the one that's going to create those big scallops that create the texture of the skirt. So what we are going to do right now is to count 3 rows in, 3 rounds. So there is 1, 2, and 3. And on top of the 3rd round, that's where we're going to start attaching our big scallops. You're going to go into any chain 1 space and attach your yarn just like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Into the same space you're going to place a double crochet, and then we're going to separate this. You're going to go into the next chain 1 space of round 3, so you're going to make a chain of 1. Into the next chain 1 space you're going to place 2 double crochets. So we want a total of 10 groups of 2 double crochets. So I hope you can see what I'm doing clearly. Chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 2 double crochets. Chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 2 double crochets. So far we have a total of 4 groups of 2 double crochets. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to continue until you have a total of 10. Five, 6, 7, and you're going to make sure that you're working this on the right side of your work, because that's where we want the scallops to pop. 8, 9, and 10. All right, so it's like we are creating a layer on top of what we already have. You can see that this is the foundation row of the scallop. You can see it's on top of what we already have. Now we're going on to row 2. You're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, and now we are working along the foundation that we already made. So chain 3 into the chain 1 space. You're going to go in there with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat this: chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Until you place 2 double crochets in the last chain 1 space. So this is what we have, and then you're going to go on top of the chain 3 at the beginning of the previous row and place a double crochet, and just like that we are through with row 2. You're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work, and you're going to repeat the previous row. So you're going to go into the next chain 1 space with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat this all the way across. Alright, so we've come to the end of the row. I'm placing my last 2 double crochets into the last chain 1 space. So far we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 groups of 2 double crochets. And now you're going to skip over the last 2 stitches and go on top of the chain 3 with a double crochet. So that's all that we are going to repeat until we have a total of 5 groups of 2 double crochets. So chain 3, turn your work, skip over the 2 double crochets and into the next chain 1 space, 2 double crochets. You should notice that we are decreasing the edges of the scallop to kind of give it a shaping, a slanting shape. Chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. And once you place the last 2 double crochets in the last chain 1 space, you're going to directly go on top of the chain 3 on the edge of the previous row and place a double crochet. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Our main goal is to have a total of 5 groups of 2 double crochets. So just repeat the same exact row again and again until you have only 5 groups of 2 double crochets. Excuse me. So now I have only 5 groups of 2 double crochets, and I'm winding up this row. You can see how short it is compared to how long the very first row was. So let's place our work on the desk so you can see how this is playing out very beautifully. Now once you get to this point, you're going to just make a chain of 1, and you're going to cut your yarn, pull through, and then we're going to go on to the next scallop along the same row. So you're going to turn your work upside down. This is the upper side of the skirt. Now I'm going to skip over a total of 5 groups of 2 double crochets on the original skirt and start creating my next scallop. So to do that, let me just do this. This is the first scallop, and along the top of the 3rd row or round of the original skirt, I'm going to count 5 groups of 2 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to attach my yarn in the next chain 1 space, just like we did for the first scallop. So we are going to repeat the same exact process after skipping a total of 5 groups of 2 double crochets. Chain 3, 1 more double crochet into the chain 1 space. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process as the very first scallop, and I am going to keep going all the way around the top of the 3rd round of the skirt and keep creating these scallops, and I'll be back to show you how many scallops that I ended up with along this round. Alright guys, I am currently working on my last scallop along round 3 of the original skirt. You can see it's here, it's the one that I'm working on right now. But we have this one, we have this one, and we have this one. They're evenly spaced out, having 5 groups of, actually this has 6 groups, but that's okay. Towards the end, I also have a total of 6 groups of 2 double crochets in between, so that is fair enough. Make sure you kind of space out your scallops the best way possible so that they look like they are evenly spaced out. You can see how the scallops are popping up. So let me go ahead and finish up this one, and then I'll be back to show you how to make the second layer of scallops and what to consider while thinking of a place where to put the second layer. So let me finish up this one, and I'll be back to show you how to do the second layer of scallops. Alright guys, now I have a total of 4 scallops around the 3rd round of the original skirt. You can see 2 on this side and then 2 on this side. Now we're going to, this is going to vary depending on your foundation chain. You can have 3, you can have 5, you can even have 6 depending on the size of your skirt or the number of groups of 2 double crochets that you have for the original skirt. So we're going to go onto the second layer of scallops, and what we are going to consider is placing a scallop right in between what we already have. So you're going to place your work like this and then flip over the scallops. We're going to skip a total of 3 rounds from the original skirt. So this is round 3 where we placed these scallops, and on top of round 6 is where we're going to place the next scallops. And this is round 4, 5, 6. But in order to do that, we want to place a total of 10 groups of the 2 double crochets, but we already have 5 along this line. So you can see this is round 4, 5, and 6 along this line. That's where we're going to place our second layer. So this is 5 in between. So I'm going to consider 6, 7. I'm going to consider around 2 groups or 3 groups on this side. So for me, I'm going to consider this. So the fact that we have 10 groups, you have to place some of them towards the side. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You can see where the 10th is should be below the scallop on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn. And when it comes to the scallop, we're going to repeat the same exact instructions as the first scallops that we just made. So attach your yarn and place your 10 groups of 2 double crochets along round 6 of the original skirt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is the 10th. So let's see what we have right now. You can see that once everything lays down, this scallop is going to come from beneath these 2. You can see that it's going to create a scallop of its own. So once you get to the layering bit or the next layer of scallops, consider the midsection of the previous two scallops. That's where you place the next layer. But when it comes to the scallops, we do the same exact process. So let me finish up this scallop and we shall see how it's placed in the middle of the previous two scallops. What we are trying to do here is to create a layering effect. And we're going to do that all the way around round 6, and then for the next layer of scallops we shall consider round 9, and we're just going to continue doing that all the way down the skirt and around the original skirt. Alright guys, this is the middle scallop that has come from beneath these two, and we're going to go ahead and continue to place the different scallops around round 9 of the original skirt. So you can see how it creates some sort of layering, and yeah, the scallop beneath comes from between the two scallops from the first layer or the layer before. So keep doing that all the way around the second round of scallops, and then consider the same exact placement for the third round, but this time it will be on top of round, this is round 6, it will be on top of round 9. So count round 9 of the original skirt. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the next layer will be on top of round 9, the next layer will be on top of round 12, like that, until we can cover up the whole skirt as a whole. And then I'll be back to show you how to do the edging of the scallops. Alright guys, this is what your skirt is going to look like once all the scallops are placed onto the skirt. Now we're going to go ahead and create an edging for the scallops, and as well as emphasize their shape. So you're going to turn your work upside down again. I did a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of scallops for the full skirt, but you're going to do what you have to do in order to cover up the main body of the skirt with scallops all the way around. So this is the back side or the front side, and then this is the other side. So you're going to get a double strand of your yarn. We're now going to create an edging for the scallops. So we're going to get our very first scallop, which is this one. This is the upper part of our skirt. So I'm going to go into the very first row of the scallop with a double strand and make 2 single crochets in that row. And as you work, you're going to make sure that you carry along all the loose ends so that we don't have to weave them in later on. You're going to go into each and every row with 2 single crochets. Until you get to the very first corner of the scallop. So I've placed 2 single crochets in each row of the scallop, and when it comes to the very last row, you're going to place a total of 4 single crochets. So I had already placed 2, so I'm going to make 2 more, and at this point I can leave these tails behind. I'll just cut them off, and then you're going to go into each chain 1 space with 2 single crochets. This is along the bottom edge of the scallop. You go into each and every chain space with 2 single crochets until you get to the side of the last row of the scallop, which is here. So into this space, you're going to place a total of 4 single crochets, just like we did for the opposite side, the opposite corner, which is here. And then continue to place 2 single crochets in each and every row of the scallop until the base of the scallop. So here we are, placing our last 2 single crochets in the last row of the scallop, and this is what you're going to have. Then from here, you're going to go along this line. You remember the line along which we placed the scallops? You're going to go on this side of the 2 double crochets that are placed into the chain 1 space. You place 1 single crochet on this side and then push the double crochets here, and into the same space you place another single crochet, and continue to do that. You place a single crochet on the right side of the 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space, and then go skip over the 2 double crochets and place another single crochet into the same chain space. Continue this until you get to your next scallop. Okay, so we've made it all the way across, and this is what we have. You can see this. Now you're going to repeat the same exact process that you've done for this scallop. So you go along the side while weaving in this tail, placing 2 single crochets into each scallop row, until the very last row in the corner of the scallop, where you will place a total of 4 single crochets, just like that, and then go along the flat edge of the scallop, placing 2 single crochets in each chain space, don't forget to always carry along the loose ends so that we weave them in as we do the final row of the scallops. So you can see how the scallops are much more clear or more emphasized as opposed to these ones that don't have an edging. So once you get here into the last space, you're going to go in there with a total of 4 single crochets so that we get to the opposite side of this scallop, and then go all the way down, placing 2 single crochets in each row of the scallops until the base of the scallop. So once you get here, you're going to go all the way across to the next scallop, and I hope you still remember what we did for this section. You go onto the sides of the 2 double crochets that are placed into the chain 1 spaces. So skip over the 2 double crochets and single crochet in the same space. So we've made it all the way across, and just like that, you're going to start working on your next scallop. So that's all that we're going to be repeating all the way around until you're through with your with all your scallops for this round, and then you repeat the same exact process for all the layers of the scallops that you just made for your skirt. Alright, so we've made it all the way around the first layer of the scallops, and you can see the first single crochet of the edging of the scallops is here. So after this single crochet, you're going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet, and then make a chain of 1, and you're going to cut your yarn, and this will be the end of the first layer of scallops with the edging. You can see how very dominant it is as compared to the ones without the edging. So we're going to repeat this process for each and every layer of scallops, but before I do that, I'm going to go onto the waistband, and then I'll continue to do this same exact process for all the scallops around until the very last layer of scallops. So to work on the waistband, you're going to still use a double strand, and you're going to attach your yarn in any chain 1 space using a double strand. So you're going to make a chain of 3 and double crochet into the same exact space. So continue to double crochet 2 times in each and every chain 1 space. Every chain space you place 2 double crochets. So I've made it around, and you're going to slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. And just like that, we are done with round 1 of the waistband. For round 2, you're going to make a chain of 3 and front post double crochet into the next stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch around the post, and then push it to the front and double crochet as usual. That's a front post, and then back post double crochet into the next stitch. So yarn over, go to the back of the stitch and push it to the back, and that's a back post double crochet. Let's do that again. Yarn over, front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then back post double crochet into the next. So you push the stitch to the back around the post. So the front post double crochets are going to pop towards the front of the work, and the back post double crochets are going to push towards the back of the piece, and that is going to create a ribbed effect eventually. So keep alternating between a front post double crochet and a back post double crochet until you make it around the second round of the waistband. So you can see that the ribbing has already started forming. Alright, so we've come to the end, and I'm placing a front post I'm placing a front post double crochet into the very last stitch, but if it's a back post double crochet, it doesn't matter. Then you're going to go on top of the first chain 3 of the round and place a slip stitch. So you insert your hook and pull through all. And that is the end of the second round of the waistband. So for the third round, you're going to just make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet, and you're going to front post in each front post double crochet and back post in each back post double crochet. So wherever you have a front post, place a front post double crochet, and wherever you have a back post, place a back post double crochet all the way around until the end of the round. And when you come to the end, you just slip stitch onto the top of the first chain 3 of the round and chain 1 and cut your yarn. That will be the end of the waistband, unless you want to make your waistband thicker. But for me, it's going to be just a total of 3 rounds for the waistband, and that will be thick enough for my skirt. So you can see the ribbed effect starting to be very clear at this point. Alright guys, we've come to the end of the very last round, which is round 3. And I've placed my last front post double crochet into the front post double crochet from the previous round. And you're going to slip stitch on top of the chain 3 at the beginning of the round and then make a chain of 1. So you're going to cut your yarn and pull through, and then you're going to make a chain that is going to go into the middle round of the waistband. So you're going to start off with a slip knot and make a chain of about 200. We are just making a simple chain of 200. Alright guys, so I've made my chain, and you're going to get a darning needle, and you're going to decide where you want your straps, your drawstring to tie, either at the back or the front. So for me, mine will be at the back. So you're going to go in and out of every 2 stitches of the middle round of the waistband. So you can have your drawstring tie either at the front or the back of the skirt. That is going to be a personal preference. Mine are going to be at the back of the skirt because I don't want them to fall at the front. And this is going to help us to adjust the waist fitting of our skirt, either to make it tighter or loose when putting it on. Alright, so we're coming to the end. I'm still going in and out of every 2 stitches until I have a few stitches left. You can remove your darning needle And this is going to help us have an adjustable waistband, and the strings will tie at the back of the skirt like this. You can go ahead and cut off the excess yarn. And then we're going to go back to cleaning up the edges of our scallops, just like we did for the very first layer of the scallops. So we shall do that for the second layer, the third layer, the fourth, until the very last layer of the scallops. And then I'll meet you back when everything is ready. Alright guys, this is what your skirt will look like. After cleaning up the edge of each and every scallop, you can see each scallop stands out on its own at this point. It's not like what it was before. So you're going to go ahead and weave in all your tails, all the tails that you can see on the skirt, and also at the back of the skirt. You can see the scallops are really standing out. If you feel like they're folding, you can just go ahead and stretch them out on the edges so that they can stand out on their own. And this is what I did for each and every scallop. In order for them not to fold or curl up like this, I went ahead to keep putting a tag on them, just pulling them a little bit so that they can stand individually. And this is what we have. And when it comes to the front or the back of the work, depending on where you want to tie the knot of the drawstring, you'll have an adjustable waistband for your skirt. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in all my tails, and I'll show you the final look of my design. So thanks for watching guys. I will see you in my next one. Don't forget to check out the written pattern and the matching tops for this particular design. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.